Hello and welcome everyone. It's time for another review video, and this time I have Guy from How to Be a Great GM here with me.
Hello, Till.
Hello, Guy. You had the opportunity to kick off all our reveals and teasers with the first reveal we did a few weeks ago, which was the City Map Maker. By now we are almost at the end. So there's just one reveal left. When you're viewing this video, we are almost through with everything. So I think it's time to do a little summary here. And we have also received a lot of questions from the community, which we're going to answer at the end. Not all of them, but I think some that might fit in here. But for now, I would like to start with you, Guy, telling us what did excite you most about Project DEIOS?
And you said I have to keep it to 20 minutes. Well, the whole interview to 20 minutes. Project DEIOS, when I heard about Project DEIOS, I went, yes, because it just brings together everything that you could possibly want in terms of creating your world. And it does so by a company, DUNGEONFOG, that has already established itself as being, as far as I'm concerned, the best map maker that's out there for battle maps. So when you then say, well, that company is now going to be producing the whole thing, there's what's not to like. I mean, it was so exciting. And, you know, if you watch my YouTube channel over the years, you'll see, oh, top 5 pieces of software that you need, and you go, okay, well, I need this to be able to do that. I need this to do that. I need this to do that. I need to. Now, no, chuck that out the window. We now can do it all in one space. I mean, that to me is super exciting. When you look at the assets that are on board, like you said, there's DUNGEONFOG backing this thing from a technology perspective and an artistic perspective. We've got Kaora. I mean, it's beautiful. It's going to work wonderfully. It's going to let you do everything that you could possibly want to do within the map making space. That's it. I mean, it's
and the storytelling and narrating skills.
Oh yes,
well, because obviously with World Anvil on board, we have like one of the strongest, if not the strongest partner when it comes to world building and story creating there. So
absolutely. I mean, like you said, you take all the programs out and just throw them out, and you're just you're boiling it down to this is it, and it, as you said, integrates with World Anvil, and yeah, it's just super exciting.
So when we break down, because now it's a summary, so we can now officially talk about all the things that we've revealed. We've revealed the City Map Maker, which you had the opportunity to bring to the public. We have the regions and biomes system.
Yep.
We have the world map system, and that's a long list, so I always have to check if I don't forget.
Yes.
We have the planes and portals system, and just recently we released everything that we want to do community-wise in terms of co-authoring and community engagement. So from all of those things, if there's one that you could pick, what would be your absolute favorite need as a game monster?
Well, I have to tell you, I'm going to share a little bit of personal information here, Till, so you can cut this out if you don't like. When we were sitting in London and we were talking about Project DEIOS, you know, we'd all got together and we were sitting there saying, well, what did you want it to be able to do? And what did you want it to be able to do? I was there going, city builder, city builder, city builder. And, you know, I even ran a poll saying, what do you want, a map maker or a city builder? And I kind of even skewed it in my favor. Not intentionally, it just, I suppose my enthusiasm just came through. So I was championing the city builder because it was something that I felt there was a big space in the whole market. But as I learned more about how the whole thing is planned to work from, it's a Google map space, isn't it? I mean, you start at the planetary scale, kinda, and you can just keep going in and in with right to the point where you get to the battle maps, which I've been using forever now since I discovered DUNGEONFOG. So it was like, I want the cake, And then I realized that what I wanted was just the icing. The actual cake was still there. You know, there was more to it. So what I have loved about this project is just kind of going, oh, I want this little bit. And then being told, actually, there's this much more that's coming. You're going, well, that's it. So my favorite part is just in terms of seeing how the scope has, I don't think it's ever expanded. I think you guys had a pretty big vision to begin with. But just
Yeah.
from me being in part of it was going, there's more and more. I now give it to me now. You know,
Yeah,
so
I remember 2017, like 2016, when the idea of having your own map maker started to brew in my head. We actually wanted to go full scale back then, and then we just realized that this is possibly too much for everything at once. And also we started just, so we wanted to tip our toes and experiment with can we do that? Is the technology capable of doing that? Can we control everything the way we want it? So we started with a battle map maker, because that was something that I personally needed a lot back then. And it gave us the space to grow and to experiment. So by the time we were ready to release DUNGEONFOG, we already had a lot of ideas in the drawer waiting to be pulled out and say, okay, can we, now that the battle map maker is ready, what else can we do? Can we bring more of the original concepts to the paper? So when I went to London and pitched that to you and Dimi and Janet, I was very nervous because I was waiting for what are they going to think about that? And I'm so happy that I have all of you on board, because that kind of, how else can you build a solid foundation if not having a great game master on board who knows what he needs, having a map maker on board who knows how to create stuff. So how does he need the art tools to work, and having World Anvil on board with all their know-how and their experience with storytelling. So we were like, okay, I think that's a perfect match, so let's go for that. And here we are. Now we are at the brink of starting this.
that's right.
One reveal left, so we're not talking too much about that next week. But we got a few community questions here that I would like to throw into our conversation here. That's a good one for you. How can you describe Project DEIOS in one sentence?
I can't. I can't describe it in one sentence. In one sentence, I would say, and I often hate these kind of catchphrases, because it always sounds so very corporate and so very, like an advertisement type of thing. But I think when you say it is the complete solution to creating a world and everything in it, I think that would not be too much of a stretch for what it's capable of, from all the different levels, as you say, the world making, the biomes and regions, the city making, the battle map making. I mean, yeah. So I would say it's the complete package. It really is the
I really like Janet said it in one of our meetings. She said it's a one-stop shop, and I think that's what we're trying to achieve here, is to have a one-stop shop for everyone who wants to create worlds that include regions and cities and battle maps. So it's the one-stop shop to go there.
Absolutely. And if I can just expand a little bit on that, Till, when you look at creating a world, and whether you're an author or a game master, or it doesn't matter, just a creator, by being able to move seamlessly from the macro to the micro, and to almost have the space where you've got the city, and then you can sort of lift off the roofs of each of the buildings, metaphorically speaking, and then see the layout of those buildings as well. and be part of that creation process of what is in that building. Oh, that's what's in that building. What's in that building? I mean, I've spoken about it on my channel. You become part of that world that you're creating. So it's no longer just this sort of imaginary space. It's now a real place that you have visited and you've walked inside those buildings. So it's a much more visceral experience than I think you would normally get, especially because of the style of artwork that's involved. It's a very rich style. It's a very engaging kind of style. So yeah, I'm one-stop shop. I think it doesn't begin to describe all of the emotion, but you can see I'm very excited about it. I'm super excited.
What now? That's another question. What do you want to achieve with Project DEIOS? I think we've kind of touched that already, because the answer is we want to achieve that storytellers and world creators have all the tools they need to build their worlds, to share their worlds with others in their community, and to have it in one place. I don't know if you want to add anything to that. Otherwise, I will skip to the next question.
Yeah, I don't think... I think people might sort of sit back and say, well, I've got my favorite world maker, or I've got my favorite this, or I've got my favorite that. And I think that it's a case of saying, well, you can still use that for sure, and continue to use DUNGEONFOG as your battle map maker or as a city map, you know. So it's not just a case of, okay, well, now you abandon all hope, you know, you enter here, for you are now in our space. So you can still use other bits and pieces if you want to. Why would you want to is simply familiarity. So I think that's important, is what was part of the achievement outcome was easy use. And I think, you know, we talk about, oh, you can do the maps, you can do all this, and we get really excited about that. But fundamentally, is it as simple to use as it needs to be? And I think that's a key design concept that sometimes gets overlooked, especially, and I mean, you guys are a relatively small development team. I mean, you don't have Google-sized offices in Austria busy churning out map assets, right? Sometimes you kind of go, oh, well, this is a bit clunky, but that I don't think is going to be the case here either. I think it's going to be a very seamless, very easy step in and start working straight away type of process, which I think is important from an achievement perspective.
Now you gave a great transition to the next question here, because the next question is, how will you realize Project DEIOS in terms of development and time frame? And yeah, we are a small team, so we are now looking at a team of 4 core developers here, like including me as not really developing, but developing the concepts. And now with Mark on board, with Kiara on board, with 2 artists. So the details about how we're going to do this will be revealed in the next reveal that we're bringing next week. But what I can say so far is that we saw and we are seeing Project DEIOS as an opportunity to bring something to you as the user that is new and that is fresh and that helps you, but it is also an opportunity for us to get an additional developer, possibly 1 or 2 developers on board to help us. So it's a kind of, we tried to approach this as a kind of, I hate to say a win-win situation, because it's a terrible phrase, but we're going to do Project DEIOS anyhow. Like it's going to happen. We're set on that track and we're going to finish that. The question is, how long will it take us? And we already have a huge roadmap for DUNGEONFOG on the table. So if we want to complete this and Project DEIOS, it's a good opportunity to say, hey, help us. If we can get an additional developer, if we can grow our team, then this will allow us to speed up Project DEIOS. So you will have something out of that and we will have something out of that. And how we are going to do that, that's going to be addressed next week.
You know, I again, this is just a little bit of behind the scenes type of thing, but I recall sitting in meetings where you were talking to Kiara about the biomes and assets that you would need. And, you know, I was sitting there just sort of mucking in and saying, oh, I'd like it this, and can we have it this, and can we, you know, and the list was, okay, here's 25 things that we'll need. We'll need a mountain, we'll need this, we'll need that. I think by the end of that meeting, it had doubled to 50 or 60. And even then, we said, okay, cool. And Kaora was just sitting there going, okay, I have to draw all of these assets and things. Then I actually used some of the assets from the city builder for the Ghost of Saltmarsh game that I run. And whilst I was busy doing the map of Saltmarsh, I had Kaora on the chat, and I was saying, you know, I know that Till has asked you for these assets, and these assets are amazing, but could I also have a little this and a little bit of that? And he was drawing them whilst I was making the map. And I was like, well, you know, this is beyond your scope. And he's like, no, it doesn't matter because it just makes it look nicer. So we're just going to put it in. We're going to put it in. We're going to put it in. So I smile when you sort of say, well, we were a small team and then we took on this project, because it's grown and evolved, but it has always grown and evolved towards being better, not towards, oh, well, we can't actually do that, or that's beyond our budget or our plan. It's always been a case of, does it make it better? Does it make it stronger? Yes. Okay. It's in. That's the one thing that I wanted to talk about in terms of your time frame and stuff. The other thing, which I think is very important to realize, is that unlike other small development studios where you've got this massive project coming out, DUNGEONFOG, as the battle map maker, hasn't stopped seeing releases. And at the time of this video, you released something yesterday, I think. I don't know, my time zones are all over the place at the moment. Yeah. But yesterday, the Dungeon Cell pack came out. And as it came out, I was looking at it going, oh, I can fill my dungeons now with more stuff. So it's not as if the one has just been, okay, it's shelved now, we're forgetting about it. It's still growing and evolving whilst this other thing is going, which I think is fantastic from you guys in terms of dedication to what you said you're going to do and fulfilling that.
I kind of almost forgot, and the community would punch me for that. The second part of the question was the time frame. So in terms of time frame, I mean, as we did with DUNGEONFOG, we're going to start developing in late summer. So we have already started prototyping. We have a lot of concepts. The core development will kick off around end of August, starting of September. And again, with more developers on our team, we will be just a little bit faster. More developers don't necessarily mean faster. They just need more work, more coordination involved. But it will help us so that Andy can either focus, our core developer is Andy, either focus on the Project DEIOS things that he's going to do, or help the new one to get accustomed to DUNGEONFOG. So I think it is realistic to say by spring 2020, we will hit alpha. And then approximately, I would say, every 6 months, we will iterate into a new alpha version for about, I would say, 1 to 2 alpha versions, and then the closed beta. So if we are talking about the end of 2020 or the early 2021, I think it's realistic. And for those who have already used DUNGEONFOG or have been part of the Kickstarter campaign, they know that we constantly release parts of the update so that people can already start experiment and give feedback on that. But that now, I promised I will answer the time frame. Here I did. How will I be able to use Project DEIOS as a storyteller or game master? I think the initial question was, can you describe how the tools are related to each other? How do they work in terms of when I create a map, or when a city map or a region map or battle map? It's a rather technical questions. By the way, a lot of the questions that came in there were very technical. So we're not going to touch them in the video, but you can scroll down because I have answered all your questions in the FAQ collection down below. So just scroll down and look at that. In terms of a map creational process, I don't know, how do you usually start creating your world? Do you start in a town? Do you start on a battle map? Where do you start?
Yeah, you know, there are two schools of, well, there are a couple of schools of thought, but either you start at the top and work your way down, or you start at the bottom and sort of work your way back up again. And everyone will have a slightly different process. Project DEIOS says, well, that doesn't matter. You can have whichever way you want to work. And I think the way that I work is world map first, because the world map allows you to sort of sit back and say, okay, I've got this country here and I've got this culture here and that sort of thing. Then you go into your regions, and your regions you start unpacking and saying, right, this is this county or state or province or nation or whatever. Then either you go into the design of the city or you go into the design of the first building, and depending on which sort of approach you take. And I think that Project DEIOS it's kind of like what World Anvil does, where it says, okay, here is a workflow. You use it how you want, but you've got all the tools that you possibly need. So you can work a little bit down there, and then you can go back up there, and you can tweak and adjust. And so from a storytelling perspective, like I was mentioning earlier, you going on a journey into your world like you have never done before. This is not just a map which you create and then you kind of put it aside and you say, okay, there we go. It's a living, breathing space, which is going to update and evolve as you explore your world more. And yeah, for me as a storyteller, you go, well, that's fantastic. That's fantastic that I can go to my world map and say, let's look into that province. Okay, oh, there's some stuff missing. Okay, let's tweak and adjust. Let's go into that city. Oh, there's that really interesting building over there. What's inside that building? I don't know yet until I walk in through the front door, and then suddenly there's this opportunity to create this thing. Yeah, it's super exciting.
Yeah, to pick up there. I mean, one of the core, I mentioned in the last video, one of the core motivations behind DUNGEONFOG, and now we're going to bring that to Project DEIOS as well, is always the aspect of saving time. I know it's not really a time saver when you start to dish out every detail on your map. You can get lost a lot. But in terms of how the tools work, they're intended to be available in a way where you can quickly draw a map, quickly create something to save time. And again, the community aspect is so strong in there, because you don't have to draw every building, or you don't have to draw every city. You can just take something that someone else created and made public and shared, which I think is one of the biggest time savers out there, because you don't have to draw everything. You just take that, put it in, adjust it, and fine.
That's it. And I think, just as a quick, just to train wreck into you, that's what we've been doing with DUNGEONFOG already. Yeah. For those of you that don't know, the Ghost of Saltmarsh game, Till has been doing all of the maps for me. And so he makes the maps to my vague brief. It's like, oh, I need a building with a thing in it, and just do it and just make it happen. And Till will then make those maps, and then he shares them with me. And I look at the map and I go, okay, that's perfect, usually. Or I say, oh, actually, I just need to change that wall because I want this to happen. And it's done in minutes. So that collaboration has already been proven, and to now take it to a bigger space, well, that's phenomenal. I mean, yeah, the attention to detail and to quality interaction and usability that just makes sense from a player and gamer perspective has something that has always made me excited about DUNGEONFOG. And when you project that into Project DEIOS, well, it's just a match made in heaven.
Yeah. So I think because that question was also directed into people who already tried to visualize how the work process looks like. Again, we have several major areas where you start working. You have the battle maps. So when you create a battle map, you can, again, you have them organized in your folders. So whenever you want to pull out a battle map, place it in a city or place it in a region or world map, you can simply do that by pinning this battle map to this location. That's the way upwards. If you're looking at the way downwards, a lot of people will start to create their cities, and they want to have, like, again, what we're going to do is, when you start with a map, we're going to ask you what kind of map do you want to create. And you will have the option to say a battle map, a city map, a region map, a world map. Possibly those two will be in one, so it's just world, and the regions will come naturally. But when you're creating a city map, for example, and you say, click, I want a city map, and the tool opens, it will already prepare the tools for city map creation there for you. And I think a very interesting part is when you want to link a building, you can pin a link to the building, and the tool will ask you if you already have a battle map for that, or if you want to create a new one. And when you create a new battle map, we are going to give you the building as a blueprint for your map creation. And I mean, that is not going to happen early on, but later down the road, it's rather easy for us to create template layouts for buildings. So eventually, linking a building will mean that you can already open a battle map that already has a room layout available for you.
I'm just smiling. I can't wait. I can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, again, we will do baby steps. So the first thing will be that you have the assets, the building that you have used as an asset will be a blueprint. So you already have the layout available. And later down the road, you can have the full layout for that. When it comes to, again, top down, when it comes to, you already have a region and you want to create a city on that region, what we're going to do is we're going to give you, again, through the blueprint system, a general outline of the region as a backdrop to the map that you're creating. So you can still see that there's a river, there has been a forest, because you did that on a region level, which allows you to then create a map that has already the correct scaling and the correct canvas for your creation there.
Yeah, your geography is already there.
Yeah.
2021, you say? Really? Really? We can't double fund this, and I know you said two or three or four, programmers doesn't make a difference. Let's get 10. Let's get 20. Let's just do it.
Yeah.
Let's just do it.
We will see.
I want it now. I'm sitting here thinking the amount of hours that I spent where you've drawn your world map, and then you go, okay, now I just want to draw that little region. And then you sit there with the world map and you're trying to trace the shoreline, or you're trying to figure out where the mountain ranges go and to get the scales right. I cannot tell you how long I have spent doing that. And then you go, okay, and that's the city there. Oh, wait, hang on, but there's a river there, and the swamp is this big on the world map, but in the region map, I made it a little bit smaller. And now the city map, it does. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Again, a lot of those things are concepts, so we have to make sure that it works. Because, for example, one obstacle that we're still trying to get past is when you have a giant world map, and you need a city. Drawing a rectangle like the select tool will always generate 5 to 10 miles of area. So having a village, you would need to aim for a very tiny rectangle. So we're still tweaking here with concepts, but I think a lot of the things that we're talking about are doable because of the way DUNGEONFOG is already working, and we can just adapt that.
Yeah, I have complete faith.
Yeah. There's one last question before we finish this, otherwise we will still be past 20 minutes. How is Project DEIOS as a product, how is that going to be realized? Is this a standalone system or is that integrated? And if so, where is it integrated? And the answer is, it is integrated into DUNGEONFOG, so it's going to be a separate subscription, like an upgrade subscription. You will still have our battle map tool as a separate subscription, and if you prefer, you can then upgrade and take the Project DEIOS, that's our working title, the DEIOS subscription, the DEIOS suite, I think we're calling it right now. Regarding pricing, we haven't decided yet because we need to look at the development costs, but we know that it's still a hobby that we're all doing here. So the pricing for the whole suite, including the battle map editor and all the other stuff, will range somewhere between 6 to 8 euros.
It doesn't matter. Give it to me now. I mean, it's important that the price is good because, as you say, it's got to, if it's accessible to everyone, that's fantastic, and that just helps with the collaboration, with the, you know, we're all making maps together and that kind of stuff. So, yeah. Any last questions from your side? Apart from the obvious one of can we have it now, Till, I think that the one thing that I have always wanted to know is when we spoke very briefly about the origins of DUNGEONFOG, but when you started the whole concept, you're a game master already. Was it because you felt that there was a space, or was it because you felt that the tools that existed didn't necessarily do exactly what was that initial spark? And if that's a repeat question that's been answered already, I don't know. But.
So I started game mastering because we as a team, as an office team, I have been running an advertisement agency for 15 years now. And we decided that we wanted to do something together in the office. So we decided to play an office game, and we decided to play Dungeons and Dragons. So that's how I became the dungeon master of our office game. And back then, my daughter was 4 years old, and I had the company. I had my daughter. I had a family life. I still have one. Sounded weird now, but. I realized that prepping my games took me so long. Like I spent nights doing all the stuff. And I spent nights because as a graphic designer, that's where I originate from. I used mainly Photoshop to do it. And I realized that this tool is just not made for that. So I started to look around for other tools. And a lot of them were outdated or just, again, had such a steep learning curve that I was like, I don't want to spend my evenings learning a tool to then spend my evenings doing something for my games. That at that point, the idea sparked, and I said, well, can't we do something like that? So to break it down, I think the initial spark was, as a graphic designer, I always wanted to do beautiful maps. I want to impress my players with just the great visual of having a battle map there, or a city map, or a world map, where they look at that and they say, wow, where did you buy that? And I can say, nope, didn't buy it, made it. So I wanted to have that, but I didn't want to spend nights over nights doing them. And as most do, I ended up Googling for maps, and they never fit my game. I always had to rewrite my game to fit the map, which also wasn't what I liked. And I think that's where everything started. That's where it comes from.
Oh, it's magic. It's magic.
Thank you.
So, no more questions from me. Yeah, just now. I want to know.
If you, as the viewers, have more questions, feel free to join us in Discord. We have a thriving community there of people who post questions. We do our best to answer them. There isn't much to reveal left, so talk openly about what we have revealed to you. Write your comments here in the YouTube comments below, and just let us know what you think and what you would like to see. A lot of things that we are going to add came through the feedback of the community, and we were just like, well, well, we didn't think about that. We should do that as well. So come back to us, give us feedback, and be part of this whole project as it starts to breathe its or take its first steps. Thank you, Guy, for being there.
Absolute pleasure.
To all of you, happy map making.